Multiple offers in Vancouver. Yes, that's what's happening, my friends. And if you're not connected with a great real estate advisor, not an agent, advisor, a realtor that knows how to navigate through multiple offers as a buyer and for a seller, then this is the video for you. We meet up with our good friend, broker owner Roland Kim, right after the intro. Okay, my friends, as promised, here is our favorite realtor, broker owner from Vancouver, Roland Kim. Roland, my man, how are you today?
Good, my friend. And you?
I am doing excellent, excellent. So I don't know if you're experiencing anything like we are here in the Toronto area, but we're seeing listings come to market. Maybe not enough listings, but we're seeing buyers snap, snap, snap. They are snapping them up. Is that the same there?
It is. We're starting off in May, perhaps the second busiest May it might be. It's busy.
Okay, so that's crazy. Second busiest May, or at least it's leading up to that.
Yeah.
You've told me kind of off camera a little bit, some of your experience on properties that you perhaps had listed in the fall maybe didn't sell or meet sellers' expectations. But what's happening with those things now?
Yeah, let's jump into that. Going back one step and talking about like the activity level. So putting some perspective around that. May so far, like 9 days into it, we've done over 1,100 transactions on the board. If I average that out for the month, we're trending around 3,800 transactions for the month. And last year, when it was still busy, we did just over 2,900. So we're trending 9 days in for like a 33% increase versus last year in sales activity. And that 3,800 transaction mark would be the second busiest May in the past 6 years. So it's interesting how quickly it turned, because I kind of projected a month ago that it might be by June when the market overtakes last year's, but it's gotten busy. Which is very interesting too, because it's not as if a lot of those properties are brand new to market. A lot of the properties selling right now were the ones like you mentioned, they're the dormant ones. And, so an example we were talking offline was last year at the height in April. I remember this building in East Vancouver, kind of older building, doesn't have in-suite laundry, and it's usually a smaller market, and it had 22 offers on it. It would just, at the height, that building sold for one bedrooms around like 575. And then later in last year in the fall, I listed one in there around 540, and then listed another one in January around 535, and crickets on both, like some showings, but no offers, no activity. Took them off the market for about a month and put them both back up 2 weeks ago, and multiple offers on everything. And so, went back up to the 542 mark for them. And interesting, because when I'm surveying the landscape and asking the buyer's agents, how long you've been working with your buyer, many of those buyers have been around looking for a year. So they went through like two extreme cycles already. They went through the extreme last May, and that got too crazy for them, or they got outbid. Then the market cools off and retracts 10-15%, and they don't choose to write an offer on the properties that are available. And then, a month ago, they're told that the market has bottomed and is picking up again. And now they're firing at everything. So human nature is a funny thing. Like, we often don't do the right thing at the right time if we don't get the right counsel. And so, that's really something people need to be looking for.
Well, and there's so much there to unpack in a sense too, right? And you said, the right counsel and the right advisor and getting the right advice. And sometimes it goes both ways. Asking the right questions, which
Yeah.
every realtor advisor should be doing. And then if you're a buyer or seller, being open to receiving that information. If
Yeah.
you're not getting that information, perhaps that's time to move on to another agent or advisor that's going to provide that info. But it's I caution in the use of this word. I use caution, but is it that scarcity mindset? If you're a buyer, I could have had these things back in the fall for 5-10% less than what we're seeing now. I better get in now. Do you think that has a play or a part in this and what's happening?
I don't think yet we're going into like I'm writing an offer solely because I'm worried it's going up next month. right? But we are starting to pick up a little momentum on price as well. I think it's more that a lot of buyers got really concerned as the rates continued to go up last year. And then as the market is cooling, no one sits down with them and has a discussion about, okay, the rates have retracted, or the market has retracted 10% in Vancouver. And that rarely happens. Like, what are the odds of another 10%? What would have to happen for another 10, 15% retraction? And is it more likely that like the built up demand is going to actually recoil in the other direction? And when that conversation isn't being had, people just keep waiting for complacency, waiting for a shift in the market. And so right now, I think really all the activity is from folks that didn't buy 6 months ago, and they should have, and they wanted to, but now they know the rates are level, their jobs are secure, and the fundamentals of Vancouver aren't changing with pressure on inventory. So they're now jumping in. But what I am seeing in multiples is the range of pricing is still pretty tight. So I lost out twice this week within $5,000 on an $800,000 purchase. So that's a tight loss where, if less than $5,000 space was the difference between first and second, even after, people adjusted their price once or twice. And so that is also concerning, because that tells me there's so many people that are now buying for the right reasons. Like the rates have peaked. They feel they can make it work. They've recalibrated their financing, and now they're buying within their new budget. And fear hasn't gone into the market yet. And yet we're already, turning the corner quickly, that I feel, the next 6 months, the next year and a half are going to be busy. Yeah.
Well, that's interesting, and that tells me a couple of things too, from that perspective of multiple offers and the offers within that multiple offer scenario being, as you mentioned, tight, or we don't have one winner that's $50,000 over everyone else or anything like that. And what it tells me too is people, especially with the interest rates, have that now that they've changed over the past year. That's the new normal. Right.
Yes.
We've come to we've now agreed that, a posted rate at high 5.5 and what you can get, high 4s, maybe, that's our new normal. And that's what I got to work with. And I'm okay. I shouldn't say I'm okay with that, but I am okay with that as a buyer. Right. Yeah. And it sounds to me that right now, you have some educated buyers going in, or buyers that you've said are not scared of losing out.
Yes.
Right. So that's actually good for our market in a sense. It is tough when you are the one agent or the buyer that didn't quite get it because it was a $5,000 difference or something. But, in cases like that, this is where not a great realtor, a great advisor, someone with tremendous amount of experience, coach us through that for the moment when you have a buyer like that and you're going into multiples.
Yeah, so let's touch on that, and the even more powerful piece you already mentioned, which is if you have alignment with your client and if the client listens to you. So a great example is there was a client that I worked with. It was a referral from my notary, and probably 2 years ago I worked with them. And I was so close to parting ways because I'm like, this person does not listen to me. I tell them where the property is going to sell. Like, we do a lot of transactions, so I can quite effectively tell you where it should sell. But obviously, once in a while, it goes above that from urgency, and never listened to me. Eventually, we lucked out and we rode in on a house. And it was one of those weird weekends in the summertime where the buyers were out camping or something, because like we got it for a price we shouldn't have. Okay. And it's funny because he never listened to me. And this year he's given me 2 referrals. And their opening line when I was like, he told me I have to listen to you, that he was wrong. And I just listened to you. And so I met one person at a showing, and they liked the condo. And, and I was able to show them, they were concerned, like, oh my gosh, I think I like it, but it's my first property. I've just met you. But, my friend did say, I got to listen to you. So is this a good deal? And I'm like, it's a great example in a building with a lot of comparables where, the same unit sold several times over the last few months. And so it was very easy to show where it was going, like what the value was today and where it was going in the future. And so I was able to tie down that property with that client. the first time I met them on the first showing. And that might sound like rushed, but it was such a nice experience because they came in with like, if you tell me, I believe you, and the stats are in front of us, that we were able, that was a few weeks ago, a month and a half ago. And at that time, the market wasn't as clearly busy as it is today. And now they look like a rock star, and they still have another month and a half until, they're going to take possession. And the prices are like $15,000 higher now for that same unit. And that is a real benefit of like trusting and listening, right? And it can't be, you can't just create it. That the reason it was there is because they trust the referral source, and the referral source clearly told them, hey, I didn't listen for like a year. It cost me whatever he says, just listen.
Well, and quite frankly, too, you're too humble to say this, but that is earned, right?
Yes.
That's an earned trust. That's an earned position as an advisor, someone that we need to listen to. And you said it well. You wouldn't been able to close with that individual, that client, that referral, on the first showing and the first this, if you didn't have the trust and that raving fan, in a sense, of that initial buyer. And
Yes.
it also comes down to a few things, and that is understanding the market. And there's many, there's many realtors out there that do understand the market, and it's a matter of filtering through and finding. Though I've also found, Roland, there's many clients that also understand the market, and we know as realtors, and I'm sure you agree with this, as realtors, there will always be somebody that knows more than you do, so never assume that you know the most, right?
Totally. And you were mentioning there about like how you can steer through a multiple offer. And so
Yeah.
touching on that a little bit, a lot of buyers, when they hear subject free offers in our marketplace, think that the buyer they're going to compete against that's going to go subject free somehow has this big bag of money, that it's all cash, right? Because it's subject free. But really, it's about counsel and advice, and they've not been advised of, if you wanted to go that route, if you felt you had to, what could it look like, And it's never comfortable, but it is, if you needed to, if you're in a really competitive category, a lot of buyers could make themselves subject free offers. And what I mean by that is, most properties come out and they're going to be showing it all week. Go have a private showing early in the week. If you think it, cuts the mustard and it's the one, then do all your due diligence, within the week. Prior to even that, you could, with your mortgage broker can kind of run a empty file in a way where they can figure out, the category of price and product that you're looking for, and they can get you semi pre-approved, so that when you find a home, it's just, pretty much based on nothing changing with your financials and with the home being appraised. So we can take care of the financials with pre-planning. You can look at a property and then like it. And if it's strata, read all the documents, do an inspection. You can do an inspection on a detached, and you can do all your homework and be in a place where, when they are looking at offers on Monday, that if you wanted to and you were comfortable with it, you've done as much homework as you would when you normally get a property accepted and then do your homework. And so, it's just a different way of going about it, but you could write a subject free offer. And so it's kind of like, some people are comfortable with that, and it definitely gives you a leg up, because you can outmaneuver all the other folks that haven't gotten that counsel, or the folks that have this boogeyman concept about what a subject free offer is and how it operates. So there are ways of, even, in this market, of kind of getting ahead of the pack.
Well, and I liken it too, and I'll use this quite often when we're working with buyers. You don't want to be a lazy buyer,
Yes.
right? And I
Yeah.
know it sounds kind of weird and funny to say, but you don't. And you want to, as a buyer, and especially as a buyer's agent in this case, you want to put your buyers, your clients, in the best position to succeed. And if it sometimes takes a little bit slower to get to that ready to pull the trigger moment, that's okay. That's okay, because now you've done the due diligence. And yeah, I would never take a buyer in a multiple offer situation if they haven't talked to our mortgage broker and everything like that, because that is not putting them in a position to succeed. And some of the pieces that you're doing, like that, it's often overlooked, that inspection, and we can go talk to the seller. Would you allow us to come in and do an inspection on the home? And most would say yes, right?
Mhm.
Most sellers would say yes, and that's a big piece of it. So obviously, we're still early days into May, and we're seeing that Vancouver market, add its listings, and I'm sure you would say from the seller's perspective, we need more listings because the amount of offers that you're seeing on the buy side. What are you saying to your sellers at this moment as we kind of wrap up here, if they're on the fence?
Yeah, I mean, the nice part for a seller is it's completely a market where there's no hurry to get onto the market, because I think the market will continue to strengthen if you're a seller. Equally, right now, there's so little competition that you can again, maybe you don't get the price that you thought you might have gotten at the height of last year, because we're not there yet, but you can still dictate the dates, the terms, and in a really comfortable fashion, get your home on the market, get it showcased, and get it sold. So as a seller, I mean, if you have a good product and you're buying in the same market, we're getting back to a place where, you're less worried about selling your home and more about making sure that you have something you want to move into. And so that changed dramatically just in the last 4 or 5 months, where, back then you were making sure that you could get the price you needed on your home and you were comfortable on finding something. And now we're back to, can you find something and you'll get the price on your home?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I'm sure you have these conversations with your sellers all the time. But I could have got so much more last year.
Yes.
Yes, you could have. Well, let's look at when you purchased the home, and usually it's 5, 10, even sometimes 15 years ago, and that number's down here compared to where you could sell today. So let's look at the big picture, right?
Yes. Yeah. It's incredible when you look over 15 years, some of the entry points in these properties.
Well, funny enough, one commercial property just came up in the town where I live in Stouffville, and it's listed for 4 million. It's 3 or 4 stories high, and it's all commercial. And I thought, oh, it's probably, I thought it was interesting. Of course, I had to click on the previous sale was back in 2012, and it was for 400,000. Like, oh my gosh, what was I thinking back then? I should have picked it up, right? But
Yeah.
time in real estate is always the best way to look at it. Anyway, so how do people get a hold of you, Roland?
Find me online, Roland Kim with KYM, and my phone number is 604-970-0393. So reach out.
There you have it, my friends. Reach out. It's always important to not just to have a great realtor on your side, but someone that's going to advise you and is willing to stand up for what the market data is telling them. And that's Roland for sure. Always good to have you on the call, my friend. That's it for our video, and we'll see everybody on the next one. Bye for now.